Okay, that's the first part. So our hamburger is done, and we're going to create our cross, right? So once we click it, it disappears and turns into the cross. So we're going to make something easy for ourselves. So I'm going to mark this here just after the opening bracket. I can see it ends down here, right? So I'm going to take this, copy this, enter and paste, because I'm lazy and I don't want to rewrite everything I just did. And I'm going to change this to cross instead. The position absolute stays the same, the height stays the same, and we're going to add a transform to this because we want to, not the word skew, we want to, well, rotate it, there's the word, it's right there. We want to rotate these lines 45 degrees, which will make them into a cross instead. So remember to close this tag right now so this turns orange. And we are going to remove this because that's already in here, so we don't care about that. But inside our span, we are still going to need, actually, I'm going to do this again. And I'm going to copy this, cut it, and put it into the first one and the second one. And I'm going to delete the third one because we only have 2 lines. And I'm going to make sure everything is in line. So we are going to still have a width and a height, but the first height here is going to be 0% instead of the actual the height here. So for the first one here, and the width is going to be 4. And again, you'll see this once we start animating it. And this is going to be set to absolute instead of relative. Top is going to be 10 pixels. And again, once we're done with it, you can toy around with it and change it to see the effects. 48. And margin, let's delete this, and let's just copy the delay up here because I deleted before. I was a bit too quick. So the transition delay will be 0. Woo! Ah, that's too much. There we go. 0 seconds in this one. So that's the first one, right? And now, actually, I should have just done this and then copy this down here. So that's way smarter because we still want to have similar things here, but instead of having height to 0, we're going to set this to 4 pixels, and we're going to set the width to 0%. So we're switching those around. And left is going to again do the same. We're going to switch these basically around. So top will now be 48%, and left will be 10%. Because again, we need them to cross, so intersect right in the middle. So that's why we're switching those around. So instead of doing tilting the same way, we want them to tilt 2 opposite ways so they make a cross instead of just 2 slashes, right? And we're going to do a slightly delayed transition of 25 here. So that's the standard one we have, right? So there's basically nothing. These are just crosses and those. So I'm gonna, sorry. I'm gonna go for the last one here. So make sure that if you want to scroll up, so we want to go outside our standard menu toggle here. So you can click this here and then make sure that you're at the correct one. So outside of this one, we're now going to set up the CSS for what happens when we click the button. So we're going to use, again, jQuery for this, and we're going to add the class of open here. We will do that after we set up the CSS. So in this one, we're going to attach hamburger, and with curly brackets, we're just going to create one and copy it out. And inside the hamburger, if we scroll up, we can see we have the span, so we're going to do that again, span. So this is the actual animation we're creating, or the delay of it. So the first one, span, then we want to, in here, we want to change the width to 0. So this is, again, remember, this is the hamburger. We want them to disappear. Right now, as a standard, they're 100%. So once we add the class, take that one, the class of open, it goes to width 0, right? So that's the first one. And then we want to do, I'm going to copy this one up here because I'm lazy. And then we're going to make sure that we end this as well. And this one as well. So do everything correctly, unlike me. So the first one, the nth child 1, we are going to do the transition again. So add a transition delay for this, and we're going to have the first one for 0 seconds. Again, you can just, once we're done with this, you can just copy this and change them and see how they work. It's not really that difficult, but it's also really cool. And I'm going to move them slightly back. There we go. And that one as well, because woohoo! And that one and that one. So the OCD for coding is correct now. So 0, and then we want to add a little bit more to this, 125, and the last one will be 25 seconds here. So this is the animation to make the hamburger disappear, right? And go away with these delays here. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to, right after this, do a paste and change this, not to span, to cross, that's the word of it. So we set the cross, and we're going to remove one of the child because we only have 2 of those. And we're going to remove the width, and inside the first one, we're going to add a height, because we can't just set width outside because it's not similar in both of those. So the first one we're going to set to 80% height, and this one down here we're going to set, width. This one we're going to set to 80% width instead. So again, this is the delay. So once we make this one disappear, this one is going to show up. So going from 0, remember we put 0 up here, 0 height and 0 width. So those are now going up to 80, and we're going to set a delay of this, of course, and we're going to match them with these up here. I already have already. So the first one is 0.26126, the first one, and the last one will be we go 375. Again, just mess around with these if you want to see. So that's the basics of our setup for this, and in the next one we're going to add the JavaScript part, the jQuery part, so we can actually have this work. See you in the next video.